Por favor, uno caffè con leche.
Caffè con leche.
Casa Міра, Ля Педрера, 1906-1912, архітектор Антоніо Гауді і Короля. Бажаючи зайти всередину, піднімаємо руки і поглянути краєвид з даху. Розпитався тільки що в місцевих, то все-таки вони радять зайти саме в Саргаду, яку я називаю Саргада, неправильно. І навіть це крутіше, ніж або на рівні з Каса Бальо, ну, тому що це якби центральна річ, яку треба подивитися в Барселоні. А сюди, мені здається, що тут просто звичайні люди живуть, особливо немає сенсу йти. Якщо вибирати між тим, куди можна було б сходити в одну точку, то це має бути саме Саргада. І в бункери також сьогодні потрапимо. Половина кіло іспанських мандаринів, одна груша, 2 банани, 2,60.
Barcelona to not spoil it anymore. But yeah, it's a really beautiful spot and it's nice, and now during the winter we get to see the sunset over there, which is amazing. It gives us like 20 more points to what it was before. So yeah, to get there we're gonna get a bus on our way there and a bus back. So do you guys have a metro bus ticket? No. Yes. Okay, if you don't have it, that's okay. We have a group ticket and
Мамма мія.
Rovira Mountain, which is 262 meters, and this is the over on the top. We're gonna see them in a bit. It's a spot called the bunkers. That's where we're actually going, and it's actually not. There are not bunkers. There used to be an anti-aircraft warfare facility during the Civil War. The Civil War in Spain happened from 1936 to 1939, and it's basically victory because the left side, they didn't have like a proper leader. They didn't have proper weapons. Yeah, and it was just in between the left side. There were small groups, so they were fighting between each other while the other guys were just destroying everyone. So yeah, Franco led the nationalist side to win the war in 1939, killing 500,000 people, 500,000 people. It was a really bloody civil war, and he was in power until 1975. And during all of that time, Spain was really oppressed. He wanted to have one united Spain. As you might know, Spain has Catalonia with their own language and their own culture, and you have the base country with their own language, which is Euskera, and we also have Galicia, same story. And during that time, you couldn't have a name that wasn't in Spanish. So then Franco was out of power and Spain started being a little better. There was a big movement right after that where it was a complete opposite. People were oppressed for such a long time that in the late 70s, early 80s, Spain was kind of out of control. There was like a really big drug usage. There was a really cool punk rock movement because of that, which is good.
It was a post-Franco party time.
Yeah, exactly, basically.
In 50s, in 60s, yes?
70s.
Well, yeah, it was
70 years.
70s.
Yeah, it was 75. It was from 1939. The war finished. Franco was in power until 1975. And yeah, after that, Spain started to kind of rebuild in a way. And yeah, so right now, Barcelona as a city, we think of it as this, like a city of sun and sangria and parties and stuff. But it wasn't like that before 1992. That's where the Olympics happened. There's 4 kilometers of beachfront right there. You might have seen it. I'm sad to say that all of that is fake. It's a fake beachfront that was built for the Olympics. And yeah, so the most famous beach in Barcelona, that's the one if you go down Las Ramblas and you get there, is Barceloneta. And Barceloneta is actually the name of the neighborhood, and that's where the fishermen lived. And before the Olympics, it was a really neglected area. It was really dangerous. There was nothing there. So they got a benefit from the Olympics. Like all of a sudden, they had a really nice beachfront. People were always talking about Barceloneta. And yeah, that's one of the few places of Barcelona that got a positive impact out of the Olympic Games. And yeah, another important landmark of the city of Barcelona is that mountain over there, Montjuic. Someone mentioned you went to Montjuic today. Was it you?
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Okay,
Instead of your
so that's
tour. Sorry.
Montjuic. And
Montjuic.
historically, it's been a really important spot in the the city of Barcelona because of its strategic point. It's like a mountain right next to the sea, so whenever they would have pirate attacks, they would just have their fortresses. Loss of independence in some way. But it's also where the Olympic Games were held, so that kind of changed the side of the coin. And now there's Palau Sant Jordi, which is like the biggest stadium where most of the Olympics took place. And there's like an area called the Olympic City that's just a reformed place that was built during the Olympic Games. It's just architectural, it's an architectonic piece, it's just beautiful place, and it's also like a viewpoint. It's not as high as this one, but you can see a lot of the city. Then we have that white antenna over there. That was also built for the Olympics, and it was basically for the transmission of the games during 1992. And yes, you can still visit the castle that's on top over there. It's now owned by the city, and they host like guided tours and all of that stuff. But it's really interesting to see. You can see about the Catalan monarchy, because then for years, every year they give another year. But this one, they have the argument that it's like they marks the 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. And I heard him talking before. Gaudi, it's really interesting and sad. He died in 1926. He was hit by a tram, and people didn't recognize it was him until like some time, and they were like, "Oh, this is our most important architect that just died, and we didn't even notice," you know. But yeah, Gaudi didn't start building the Sagrada Familia. He was just did the continuation, and he ended the architect. How do you say in English? Like the maybe the one that's on that side. Because for Christmas, it's just for like really nice like star shaped.
I accidentally took a picture. When they were putting the last
Oh, when they were
pieces
putting
on.
it, you see?
I didn't see the guys until I got close, and I was like, "Ew, people up there like fitting glass on it."
Yeah. And
There's
at night, it's supposed to be like, because of the light that comes from that tower, is gonna be lit up. So it's gonna
They're
be
on the December 8th. If you're still here, they're inaugurating it, and they're gonna light it up. So I'm not here then.
right.
That's my last
If
day.
you're here, good thing to see. And also in a street called Paseo de Gracia that you might have seen it's right next to the hostel. When you go left out of the hostel, just go up. There's a lot of Christmas lights. It's kind of like, we'll see it when we're going down on the bus, I'll let you know. It's just like the main street with all the fancy shops and all that. But it's got really, that hotel over there is also a really iconic landmark. It's the one that's kind of like a half moon shaped building, the blue one. All of that is Barceloneta Beach, and that one is a W hotel. It's just a really fancy and expensive hotel in Barcelona, but it's also kind of like a symbol of the skyline of Barcelona. Whenever you look for Barcelona, you get that. And another really interesting fact about the distribution of the city is, I don't know if you've seen that Barcelona from above. It has like perfect squared, they're actually octagonal blocks. So that is called L'Eixample, and that was designed by an architect called Ildefons Cerdà. And the plan was that Barcelona used to be only the old city, which is the center. It's where we are, where the hostel is. So you go down Las Ramblas and you have either El Raval or the Gothic Quarter. It's the two old neighborhoods, and that's the old city. And there was a point that space wasn't enough for everyone that was living here. And so this guy, Ildefons Cerdà, came and he said, you know, we have to get Barcelona together to all the small towns that are around the area. But we have to create kind of like a net to get them all connected. So he did L'Eixample, and L'Eixample is basically what connects the center of the city, the old town, to all the smaller towns that are now neighborhoods of the city. They're like 20 minutes walking from the center, but at that time it was just crazy far away. And yeah, so the idea of those is basically octagonal blocks, just divided perfectly, and it was made because there's a lot of reasons. Some say it was because of airflow. It's also because there was a tram, so in that way the tram could turn around better on the corners. Also, a really interesting thing that we can still appreciate is that all of the apartments in the Champla get natural sunlight at some point of the day like all of them, and that's also because of the design and the corners cut like that. And before it was designed also that the buildings were only around the block and inside they would only be gardens, but that was kind of destroyed. Now they're building buildings inside those gardens because of the overpopulation of the city. And to end all of this, Barcelona is basically what you're seeing right here. Montjuic over there, it's basically like the line where it ends and it starts being another town. Like if you go down there, you'll find the town where the airport is, which is at Prat de Llobregat, and it's just like a lot of other towns, El Hospitalet. It's just like another area, and it's not considered Barcelona. And to that side is a city called Badalona. There's a division from the river. We can see it from above. We can see it better. Another town, and then on the back we're gonna see another mountain, and there's other towns. So Barcelona is basically what you're seeing right now. And in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, there's a 1.6 million population, which is not that much for one of the most important cities of Europe in general. But that's because people actually that work here and study here don't only live here; they live all around the towns around the place. So it definitely feels more dense than 1.6 million. But yes, do you have any questions about anything you say?
I have a question about language. Do students or pupils teach Catalonian first and then Spanish, or they have all the studies in Spanish and then Catalonian is a second?
So he was able to be dragged, you know.
Alcohol to good use.
Yeah, basically. And now it's.
Going upper and upper. Під замком старий дуб стояв, а під тим дубочком партизан лежав.
Park, and it's also the biggest metropolitan park in all of the world. It's 22 times bigger than the Central Park in New York. And there's a lot of hiking trails, biking trails.
Where is park?
It's all of that mountain. All
Mountains?
Yeah, all of the mountain. Like there's trails there. I mean, metropolitan park, but at the same time it's just a forest, and they put some trails in there. It's the biggest park. But it is, yeah. And it's they're kind of considered like the lungs of the city in some way. And yeah, its highest point is Tibidabo, that mountain over there. And on top we have the Sacred Heart of Jesus Church. The church is not that old; it was finished for a walk. And yeah, it's a beautiful spot. Whenever you're like inside, there's a lot of nature. It's just like a little escape during the weekend. There's a little break. And yeah,
Бачимо вуличне мистецтво і тут є. І це прекрасно.
No, I was going to take pictures.
Oh, okay.
If you need to, I'll take it.
Oh, okay.
I can't stand. Yeah, there's some pink clouds.
Непогане місце для туси, так би мовити.
Anyone want some more sangria? Yes. I gotta go put that.
Сергада, Сеграда. А всі інші будиночки низенькі. Тобто такого, як хмарочося, тут фактично немає. Це не кориди, кастаньєти, бо танець цигансько-іспанський. стіни нагадують середньовіччя. Воно насправді так і є, тому що в готичному кварталі, як збудувалася забудова 1600-700 якихось там років, і раніше так воно до сих пір і в хорошому стані є. Пам-пам. Зараз ніч, я прогулююся тими ж вуличками готичного кварталу в околицях кафедрального собору. І власне те й таке. Не вистачає. Ось один лицар. Середня оцінка 3,9, але декілька чоловік написало, що тут найкраща паея на пляжі. Зараз будемо пробувати. Кажуть, не чіпати тарелю, бо гаряче. Головою, що починає розвалюватися, розбалюватися від вина вже третій день. І знаходжу те, що я хотів знайти. Make it again. Площу з ролика Друда і його дружини, яка казала, що це одне з її найулюбленіших місць. Я навіть не розумів, де це. По карті не міг знайти. І ось я його знайшов. Значить, місце, де пальми, вони і на пляжі ростуть, в принципі, з плитки, з асфальту, так би мовити. Але тут по центру асфальт, по центру фонтан і такий здоровенний дворик. Вони мені в коментарях відписували, що це місце десь біля Рамбли, але точно не вказали координати. І виходить, я його випадково знайшов. Супер. Опа, фонтанчик. На цій веселій ноті сьогоднішній наш з вами вечір прогулянки по Барсі добігає кінця. І я роблю висновок, що головне не втрачати надію, чого вам і бажаю. І зустрінемося завтра біля храму Святої Родини, який я спланував Гауді, і за його проєктом будується, має добудуватися у 27-му році. Не так бентежно все і сумно може бути, як є зараз цю хвилину, тому що за несподіваним поворотом все може швидко змінитися. Тому не втрачайте надію, сподівайтеся завжди на краще. І, як каже мій дядько, не падайте духом.